The oceans are often portrayed as a problem, or even a villain in our conversations around climate change. We conjure images of melting ice caps, rising sea levels, floods and storms, all chipping away at our coastal defenses. And as islanders, that can be pretty scary. But that narrative doesn't capture the full story, because in reality, the oceans have been our most steadfast ally in the climate saga, quietly bearing the brunt of climate shifts resulting from decades of fossil fuel combustion. Consider this. Over the last 50 years, the oceans have absorbed 90% of the excess heat that the Earth has experienced because of human activities like burning fossil fuels. And every year, the amount of extra heat added to our seas is increasing. In 2023 alone, an extra 10 zettajoules was absorbed by our seas. Now that is a huge amount of energy. That's the amount of energy you'd need to boil 700 million kettles every second for an entire year. Or in another perspective, it's 100 times the total electricity generated worldwide in 2022. So the oceans have been bearing the brunt of climate change so far. But let's dive a little deeper into the ocean's story. In its vast expanse lies often overlooked habitats that collectively are known as blue carbon. These habitats include majestic mangroves. You can find these in the warm waters of the tropics. And salt marshes, they hug the coastlines of so many temperate regions. And seagrasses, they sparkle in the shallows of nearly every continent in the world. And these habitats, they're not just decorating our seascape. These habitats are hard-working carbon capture and storage systems. Some that act with a proficiency that dwarf even our most robust terrestrial forests. So what makes blue carbon habitats such exceptional carbon sinks? Well, the secret lies in their foundations. So similar to plants and trees on land, these habitats, they photosynthesize. They take energy from the sun, take in carbon dioxide, use it to build their living biomass, or that leafy material. Then they release oxygen. But these habitats do that while nestled over organic, rich sediments. And these sediments are often several meters deep. And thanks to the low oxygen conditions within the sediment, which inhibits further breakdown of the organic matter, essentially the sediments act as vaults, locking up that carbon for hundreds to millions of years. So let's take seagrasses as an example. They achieve this feat by influencing the surrounding environments. So seagrasses will be swaying in the shallows. The leaves are acting as gentle breakers, dampening the flow of water, encouraging particles to drop out of the water column. And these particles, rich in organic carbon, accumulate on the seabed, layer upon layer, entombing that organic carbon in the anoxic sediment below, far from the reach of atmospheric reclamation and protected by that lush canopy of leaves. So even though seagrasses cover only 0.1% of the entire sea floor, they're responsible for up to 18% of the carbon stored in our seas. So they're incredibly efficient carbon sinks. Despite this critical role that blue carbon habitats play in our ecosystems, we are losing them at an astonishing rate. In the UK, 85% of our salt marshes have disappeared in the last 200 years. And more than 40% of our seagrasses have vanished in the last century. And to be honest, that's a conservative estimate. It could be as high as 92%. But the important thing is that each loss, it's not just a subtraction from our natural heritage. It is a weakening of our climate defenses. You see, when we damage and disturb blue carbon habitats, the carbon stored in that sediment is released into the water column, potentially re-entering the atmosphere, fueling further climate change. And the cascade doesn't stop there. Damage and disturbance to blue carbon habitats is akin to opening a Pandora's box of ecological consequences. You see, the magic of these habitats extends far beyond their prowess in carbon sequestration. These habitats are nature's own water purifiers, so they filter the water in our seas, keeping it clear and clean for us. They play an important role in denitrification, so that's really important for keeping nutrients in balance. We only have to look at the situation in Lough Neagh to understand the devastation that can occur when nutrients in aquatic ecosystems are out of balance. The roots and the structures of these habitats are strong. They stabilize our shorelines, guarding us against erosion. And perhaps the most important ecosystem service these habitats provide is acting as nurseries. These habitats are cradles of burgeoning marine life, safeguarding diverse marine species and supporting commercial fisheries. The powerful and multifunctional benefits that these ecosystems and habitats provide has been recognized at an international level, igniting a global restoration movement. So this is the United Nations Decade of Ecosystem Restoration. We're seeing scientists, government agencies, environmental charities, and local communities all working together. They are physically rebuilding salt marshes and literally planting seagrass seeds into the sediment to regenerate these lost systems. And you can see examples of these inspiring projects across England, Scotland, and Wales. But there is a notable gap. Northern Ireland stands as the only part of the UK yet to actively engage in the restoration of vegetated blue carbon habitats. The cost of not preserving these habitats is stark. It's estimated that damage caused to seagrasses, salt marshes, and our shelf sea sediments could cost the UK economy £10 billion over a 25-year period. Now, that figure is a direct consequence of the cost of dealing with coastal erosion and the loss of those other ecosystem services because of damage to these habitats. So it's a very simple and compelling message. By investing in the preservation of blue carbon habitats, we're making a wise economic choice that will pay dividends for generations to come. Now, fortunately, Northern Ireland doesn't have to start from scratch. For example, we have a supportive legislative framework. The Northern Ireland Climate Change Act explicitly recognizes the importance of nature-based solutions, and that includes blue carbon. Our extensive marine protected area network lays the groundwork for protecting these habitats. DERA also has a forthcoming blue carbon action plan, which could be a promising step forward. We're also not in this alone. We stand to gain the valuable insight from all of those trailblazing projects that went before us. But before I close, I'd like to be very clear. The restoration of blue carbon habitats is a critical step forward in our environmental recovery journey. It is not a single solution to the climate crisis. Nature restoration and relentless decarbonization have to go hand in hand, because one can't actually succeed without the other. So in our quest for a sustainable future, the goal has to be low carbon and high nature. It's time that Northern Ireland joins the rest of the UK on this nature recovery movement. Let's rally behind nature's own solutions and champion the power of blue carbon. And let's do it by 2050. Because a sea full of life again, it's not a pipe dream. It is a scientific possibility. Scientists are telling us substantial recovery of the marine environment could be possible by 2050, especially if we focus on those foundational blue carbon habitats. They are telling us it is a doable grand challenge. It is an ethical obligation, and it is a smart economic objective. So you see, the oceans can still help us to survive our uncertain future. It's just their capacity to do so hinges on us taking immediate action to protect marine life and prioritize restoration. The oceans have long shielded us and our island. It's time we repay the favor.